Welcome back, guys. I'm Stuart from GGF and it is CES 2025 and I am at a secret location with Lian Li. Now, I didn't even know Lian Li were coming to CES. It was about the week out. They were like, hey, we've got a special place. We're up here in Caesars, level 29. There's an amazing view behind me and they have some new products, some prototypes, some more ready for release. We have some ETAs. So first off here, we all know Lian Li do amazing fans. They've been doing them for, geez, probably, I'd say 4 to 5 years now. And we have the Unifan SL Infinity Wireless. Now they've had the SL Wireless, they've had the TL Wireless, and now we have their latest SL Infinity Wireless. Now I'm going to have to get some close-ups on these because it's going to be very hard for you to see, but some new specs on these ones. So this is their first 3 independently controllable areas. So before it was 2, I'm not sure which products, but the maximum they had before was 2. Now we have 3, so obviously I would say the blades, you've got the outer frame, which will be the blue. That blue reflects on some of the Infinity, and then the very inside of the Infinity is the green. So you've got the red for the blade illumination, blue around the blades, and on the Infinity mirror on the outside, and then on the inside. Now some other things, they've increased the mirrors to, instead of 2-way, they're now 3-way for the Infinity. So you have more depth. So when you look through it, you can see, I can see all the way down and it just looks so different than before. Another interesting area is each side is different. So this shape here on this side is more of something like an oblong shape. It starts off square, goes a little bit out and then goes back in. So it follows the same design as the mirrored frame. But if you spin this around like this, it's completely a rectangle. So there's no bends, there's no curves. It's just a straight, all 4 square edges and that's it. So it gives you a different aesthetic. And you might be saying, well, I don't want my top to look like that. I don't want my bottom fans to look like this. I want it to always look the same. Well, you're always only ever going to see one side of your fans, no matter, I wouldn't say no matter what case. There might be some case out there where you may see both sides of your fans. I don't know which one, but in this case, we can see the front edge here, we can see the front edge here, we can see the front edge here. Now, first thing I said to Lian Li, I said, hey, well, when I'm installing fans at say the bottom like this, I don't want my connector here. So previously the connector could only go at one end. So that would depend if you wanted your connector at the back out of the way, it would mean you would be stuck with whatever pattern was on the side. Now this connector is reversible on either end. So you can choose which pattern you want to be on your main facing side, whether it's this one or this one, then you can choose whether you want this connector to be on the front end or the back end. Now, you might like it on the front, I don't know. I prefer it at the back. When I'm doing the top, I like it at the back. And then when I'm doing the front, it doesn't really matter whether I've got my cabling towards the top, I'll put this one at the top. If I got my cabling at the bottom, I'll put this connector at the bottom. So previously, being one end, you could just flip the fan no matter which way to orientate this, but now you can choose either end. So the controller for these will still work with the previous SL and TL, so you don't have to worry about not working with those. I'm not sure if you would want to mix and match. This build has both. It's got the recent TL Infinity Wireless and it's got the new ones. It does look a little bit different. It does look a little bit weird, to be honest. I would like to keep them all the same design, and that's good, so you don't have to worry about getting the extra controller for that. And for price and release date, you're looking for a 3-pack is $104.99. Now that's not too bad. Single is $31. You're probably going to be buying a single pack, $31, not too bad. And then the release date, they're looking around March 2025. Now this one here is the O11D Evo Mini. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for this. I've done so many builds in the original O11 Minis. They've had quite a few of those cases out, and there is a lot of information to talk about this one. So first off, the new redesign. Spin this around a bit. It's sitting pretty flat to the ground. Now, I'm not sure how well this is going to be on thermals. Personally, I don't think it'll be too bad. Lian Li said they've done some testing and it's actually pretty good. The way that this is done, once you put fans there, because they're so close to that bracket, it is angled. I can actually get my hand in the back there for that ventilation. And for their testing, if they put like a bit of paper under here, it actually sucks it through into that, because there's actually no gaps at the front. It's all coming from the back and then a little bit from the front side here. Now you might be thinking, well, is it any bigger? Is it any smaller than the original O11 Minis that came out? But overall, looking at the measurements here, you're looking at about 2 liters more than the original O11 Mini. Now you might be wondering, well, what's that overall? I can see for the depth, it's about 3.5 millimeters larger. For the width, it's about 4 millimeters larger. And then for the height, it's 10 millimeters larger. So not much difference there. Moving around, before I do that, I/O can be removed from the top to the bottom bit here. I'm assuming this just clips out or something. I won't do it now. It might even unscrew. So I/O can go from there to there. May even go around the back. I haven't had much briefing on this. I literally just got here about 10, 15 minutes ago, and I got run through all of this. Before we do that, let's just take this top off and see what we got here. So we do have 360 radiator support at the top. This whole unit here, I've seen they've been doing this on some of their newer cases that are coming out here. This can come completely off. So removable radiator brackets have been around for a long time. This just takes it that step further. So you don't have to worry about dropping it straight in. You can just go straight in the side, because when you drop a radiator bracket straight in, you normally still have a bar here. So you still have to feed it sort of through the case and then in. So this time you can actually leave this on the table like this, mount your AIO, and then put this straight in. If you did this before, you wouldn't be able to do it because you have a bar here. Unless a case has this removable bar, you couldn't do it. So now you can just drop this straight in and then away you go. Move that in like that, lock it in there. Looks like you lock it in there, and then away you go. We'll just get it shot at the back. I just gotta be careful I don't lift this now because that's not secured in. Spin this around like this. Similar to how it was before, looks like they may have the adjustable motherboard tray. I wasn't really briefed on that. I'm not sure, because that was a pretty neat feature. Looks like it can go up like the one spot like it could before, which is pretty neat. Moving around the back, these also pop on and off. Now you might be thinking, finally, you can now fit a full-size ATX PSU in the O11 Mini, and that was a big turning point for a lot of guys out there who didn't want to have to downgrade, or wouldn't say downgrade, but purchase a new PSU when they went with the smaller chassis, because the original ones only supported SFX units, SFX, SFXL, but now you can fit a full-size unit and it fits in there nicely. Also, full back connected motherboard support. We can see along the top, no worries there, along the side, and then along the bottom. Obviously, down the bottom, these hard drive cages, there's going to be some compromises. You can't get a case this small and have all of the options you need. I can see you're probably going to need to remove this hard drive cage here, because that's blocking some of the back connect ports. For the PSU, there's only one fixed spot. You won't be moving it up and down, because back in the old days, there was no back connect. I mentioned this in some previous videos. With the back connect motherboards, you can't have your PSU at the bottom now because it'll fail those. Can't have your PSU all the way at the top because it'll fail the top ports. You need to have it pretty much dead centered behind the motherboard for all of those ports to clear. For information on release dates on that, I just want to run through to make sure I missed anything. So that bottom fan bracket is tilted 10 degrees. That is to improve GPU cooling. So we've seen a similar case launch with that angled design. So basically, that's angled, extra air for the bottom, and then that'll bounce off the side panel and straight in for the GPU. For the release date, you're looking at around April 2025. So what is it now, January? So you're still looking for 3 months away, and then the price is $99.99, which isn't too bad. This here is the HydroShift II. We saw the original HydroShift launch about 6 months ago. So some of the changes here, first off, the radiator has gone from a traditional 27mm thickness down to 22, and the guys said, well, with their testing, a lot of CPUs that have been coming out recently don't require that extra cooling capacity. And with the HydroShift design, the way that the tubes run up behind, sort of past the radiator, that little bit of extra room does help with clearing those tubes. Now, some other areas for controlling the screen, there is the offline mode. Now, I spoke to the guys, and there's going to be about 10 preloaded custom set designs on here. As you can see, I am scrolling through, and that is changing. So obviously you're not going to be able to do brightness control, anything like that. This is completely offline mode. The only thing that is plugged in is just the PWM for power for the pump, and that is it. That is ready to go. Now, the only temperature reading, you're going to get water, because that's built in to the whole all-in-one cooler unit, and then that just spins around. The second one is going to be wireless. You can use the wireless controller. The only power you need for that is, once again, a PWM. And one thing I like with this all-in-one cooler, there are no cables at all. Just confirm that. Yeah, no cables at all you can see from the actual unit coming up, it actually runs through the sleeving on the tubing, then runs out the back. It's completely hidden, because I've been using quite a lot of those recent from other brands. With you got the big bulky LCD on top, then you got the cable from the pump. I normally try to jam it between the memory up around the VRM heatsink. It just gets a little bit messy. So here, nothing at all. And then the third one, they're calling it streaming mode. Well, that's basically, you can just plug the included USB cable in. It's still hidden, it runs down the cable. You just plug that into the motherboard, and then that gives you the full control. So the other controls, the wireless and the streaming, which uses the USB for the streaming, that gives you the full control. So you can take over, you can set this how you want, you can change the RGB, you can change the brightness, and you can go nuts and do whatever you want for that. Now, one other little feature I do want to mention, I'll get some B-roll on this. I don't have my screwdriver handy now, but with the original HydroShift unit, it was a little bit finicky getting the tubes nice and straight. So you've got your pump unit on your CPU, getting those two tubes to run very nice, symmetrical up the back and then around, because it goes up the back and then it runs along into the radiator. So now you can undo a screw, you can put a thumb screw in, and now you can slide it back and forwards to give you some fine adjustments. So that just gives you that fine tuning to get those tubes perfectly straight. Because I think when I covered this content, when I reviewed the original HydroShift, I had troubles getting those tubes nice and straight. They kind of skewed off on an angle and then curved up, and it just didn't look as good as it could have been. Some last few things before we wrap this video up. We have a Lancool 217. 217, the 17 being the two 170mm fans at the front. Didn't even know they existed, but they are 170mm fans. This is a performance-orientated chassis. The case comes with 5 pre-installed fans, so the 2 at the front, 2 on the top of the PSU shroud. I'll get some shots. It's a little bit hard. I might actually take off all of this glass so you can see. So 2 at the front, 2 on the bottom. These can be removed. So the idea behind this case is very modular in terms of the fan fitment. So I can take these out like so, and then I can spin these around and I can put them underneath and then lock them back in. So they can go on the top, they can go underneath, and then on the back is a 140mm fan for that one. Now, no RGB option in this, because these fans are sort of modular. They don't want all those extra cables, and being a performance case, they just want to stick to non-RGB. Now, the 217 has an interesting design in the way that the front airflow is done. There's 2 modes. There's a CPU performance mode or a more GPU direct air-cooled mode. So I'm going to attempt to try and do this on film here. What you do is you take these 2 out here, pop that one out like that, pop this one, it's a little bit hard to reach that tab, pop that one out. So what I need to do now is remove this fan like so. Now I remove this fan. So if you're familiar with how hard drives go into a lot of cases, they use those little rubber grommets. So if I take this one out like this, I can shift everything down, that one down like that. I can extend that cable a little bit. I can shift this one down like that. There we go. And then I can put a plate in here like so. I can put a plate in here like so. I don't think that one's in exactly correct, but you get the idea. So basically, this now shoots the air straight into the bottom chamber for enhanced cooling. So now when you pair it with these 2 fans up here, and remember, you can still put these fans in the bottom, this gives you improved GPU thermals, and then when we move it all in the top chamber, you get improved CPU thermals. So for the performance figures, I was speaking to the guys in the GPU mode. You're looking at a couple of degrees, about 2 degrees better cooling performance for your GPU. Of course, that's going to vary on different GPUs. And then when you move these fans up for CPU performance mode, you're looking at a couple of degrees, 2 degrees as well for your CPU, but that'll also depend on if you're running like an all-in-one, your different air coolers and so on. So not a huge difference, but some of you guys might appreciate those different changes, and then just the options you can do in this case. With some of the other Lancool cases, you've been able to remove this. Now, one interesting area, well, before I cover that, full back connect support. Looks like Lian Li are pretty much doing a lot of their cases now with back connect support, which I think is good. This isn't a dual chamber chassis. PSU goes at the bottom. And what I want to talk about with this one is it's got 2 sort of areas to mount your PSU. Now, I wouldn't say it's got 2 different areas. It's not like it goes here and it's not like it goes here. It's got the same spot, but you can rotate it in two different ways. Now your PSU can go in the traditional way, like this way, slides in the back, your PSU cable goes in here, and then all of your cables go out there. But what Lian Li have been saying is it does sort of protrude into this area. So by rotating the PSU this way, you can do it so you unscrew this area here. Your cable for your PSU is routed in here, so you plug your mains cable in this side. There's still clearance in here. The only sort of issue with that is your switch is going to be behind this little door to switch it on and off, and that means your cables are fed into the back of the case, so then you don't have any cables in here. So you can, there were some hard drive cages, but the case here comes with 4 hard drive cages to put down the bottom. So you have 2 banks of 2 here, and you can utilize all that room, and you don't have to worry about that bulky area of PSU cables because they are more towards the back. Now, one thing I do want to talk a little bit more about the PSU here. This looks like the RS-1200. I've actually taken the shroud off. This actually goes on. But one cool thing about this is if you do pair it with this case, so if you do feed it out, it's kind of confusing. So if you feed it out like a normal traditional one, you can see the port is facing this way. What I can do is this whole block spins around, that goes out to your AC, just like that. So now we're running a traditional PSU, ports out the back, straight out like that, and then away you go. I do have this around the wrong way, but you do get the idea. So if I was to go like a traditional PSU like this, ports there, and then you've got your connector there, that's out the back. But if we ran it in the way that this case was orientated for, the ports for your cables go out the back side like this. If you've got this facing this way, you might not like that. You can flip this around like this, and now you're shooting your power connector straight out the back. Now, another interesting area you might have seen, there's multiple motherboard ports or your motherboard 24-pin connector on this PSU. So that's one on that side, and then they have one on this side. So that just gives you some different options, and it's a direction that Lian Li are going with their PSU units to give you some flexibility and really sort of change up the game, because I think with the recent Lian Li Edge units, there hasn't really been any changes when it comes to power supplies in, I would say, the last at least 10 years. So with that sort of engineering and innovation, it's just going to push other companies to try and follow and just come up with different ideas, not just with PSUs, but also with cases as well. And that's with Lian Li's, a lot of cases. They've got some other prototypes as well that instead of the PSU just going here, you can put them at the front, you can move in different areas. And then in conjunction with these units and the flexibility of the modules, it just makes them all fit in nicely. So that's it at the Lian Li suite at CES. Just those few products there, those new cases, the new fans, the all-in-one cooler. And then it'll be interesting to see the direction they go with these modular ports on the PSU. But anyway, I can't wait to try and do a custom loop build in this case. I think I did 5 in the original O11 Mini. That was a really nice case to build in, so it'll be interesting to see how I can go with all the different radiator options and so on. But anyway, I want to thank Lian Li for covering my CES coverage, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.